Educating, informing, serving. Fact TV, keeping government honest.
You're watching a Fact TV presentation of the Wyndham Northeast Unified Elementary School District.
Okay, I call the meeting to order of the Grafton Athens School District for October 12th, 2023. We have introductions of folks that are on virtual.
I guess that's just me, Angela Cartier, the principal at Grafton. Sorry I'm not there in person. I was at Killington for a training today.
Right.
Artie Merrill from Grafton.
Rachel Plummer, Grafton.
Lynn Morgan, Athens. Kathy Sano Goodwin, Grafton.
Jim Bazina, finance, helping Andy with the financial area.
Nicole Barnett, admin assistant to superintendent and board recorder.
Andy Haas, superintendent.
Any adjustments to the agenda or additions? Any communication or public comment? I'll be done.
Don't see anyone.
Okay. So we need to approve the minutes of September 14th. Any corrections or additions?
I have a correction on the meeting from the 14th. If we go to the second page where it says tuition rate, the last sentence is, I think, a mistake. Or it's missing something.
Yeah,
It's
there's
like a repeat, like it copied the more, and there's the confusion of the rate.
Nicole, do you have anything on that?
Yeah, I'm just pulling them up. I'll have to go back and just look and correct it. And then we'll
Okay.
just
We'll
do
be,
it to submit for next time.
so it'll be
But
correct.
basically it's us that would determine a lower rate, right? Rather than the board would have to vote on that, isn't that correct, Andy?
I think so.
Yeah, well. So I'm trying to, I apologize, I'm trying to find it here. Where was it again, Rachel?
Second
The
page.
second page, old business for discussion action, the tuition rate. The last sentence, I think meant to be part of a different sentence, but it kind of-
Yeah, right, so I mean, I know you're doing minutes, but there'd be a lot of trying, you as a board set the tuition rate, as Hardy said, and so.
I just want to, that's set for this year, right?
It is set for, we haven't done for next
We
year.
haven't done it for the next year.
Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
That's for last year, that there was discussion last year about tuition rates.
Right.
from Some of the parents and so.
Yeah.
So the tuition rate that Rockingham charges is higher than the state average.
Yeah.
And so that's where that confusion lies a little bit, or I don't even know, confusion of people feeling like that's not equal and stuff like that. My suggestion was going to be to you all that it may be worthwhile to send a letter to the Rockingham board asking them to have an inter-district or inter-supervisory union that they're only going to charge you that rate. They can announce that rate, but they charge you the state average because that makes sense. So,
Because it might cause somebody to go to the middle school rather than to Chester.
right,
Which charged $16,000 last year.
right.
I just want to say the problem that they have, Rockingham will have, is that if they say, hey, we want all these students, we're gonna give you a $1,999 tuition. They've got to do it for all of the rest.
Yeah, no, I was going to talk to Westminster also, but
Yep.
those are the two districts that charge it.
Yes.
So that was gonna be my recommendation even to them, so,
Yep.
And they're charging 22?
that is their cost of, yeah.
Okay.
So,
Any other corrections or comments on the minutes?
So I could just remove that last sentence because
Yeah,
it
I
does
think
look
just
like
take
it's just.
Yeah.
I was gonna
Yeah.
type more, but then it was confusing because I remember there was confusion, so I can just remove that.
Okay, so we can accept the minutes with that removal? All in favor?
all right,
Okay. And then we have the minutes of September 18th, the special board meeting, the community forum. Any comments there or corrections? If none, we have a motion to accept those minutes. So moved. All in favor?
all right.
Okay. So we have, do we go to the principal's report before we go to finance? Is that all right? Or do you, is that okay? So Angela, you want to do your report?
Sure, happy to. Enrollment hasn't changed since the last report. We have 31 students total, 10 from Athens, 19 from Grafton, and 2 from Westminster. Last week, our 6th graders attended Key Waden with Mrs. Stern. And once again, not surprising, our students did a really great job representing our school and themselves. Mrs. Stern said that they were so respectful and kind and hardworking. They actually had a beautiful week of weather. It was a little different this year. They went in the fall rather than in the spring. Which there's a lot of positive feedback about that weather-wise. And then also with the view, it was like peak foliage last week, so that was really nice. The entire school put together a welcome back as the kids got off the bus with a banner, and there was lots of shouting and cheering, so that was fun. On October 31st, we'll have our Halloween parade as usual. The students will bring their costumes and change into them during the school day, and then we'll parade around Grafton Village, showing off our costumes. Today I just said that I was at a conference in Killington, and it was the annual PBIS forum. And our staff and students have been working really hard on implementing clear strategies and structures that support students with their learning, both academically and socially and emotionally. And today, Grafton Elementary School got its official designation as a PBIS school. If you're not familiar with PBIS, it stands for Positive Behavior Interventions and Support, and it's a research-based framework for teaching and supporting positive behaviors for all students. It's a school-wide approach that focuses on building a safe and positive environment for all students to learn. And then the purpose and our goal and hope for implementing this PBIS system at GES is to have fewer behavior issues, more time on learning, and increase attendance. And then our staff has worked to identify 4 fundamental expectations, which are: we are kind, we are safe, we are a community, and we persevere. And so over the last year and a half, our staff has worked to develop a behavior matrix, and then posters and clear expectations for all locations that fall under those 4 expectations of kindness, safety, community, and perseverance. And then we have a way of gathering behavior data and tracking that in a program called Swiss, which also aligns with another program that we use, Panorama. Throughout the whole SU, we use that program. And so our attendance data and our behavior data, student support plans all go into this one program, and we're able to identify times, places, behaviors, and make decisions based on that data. Tomorrow, students will bring home a brochure. That's like a RGES PBIS brochure for families that'll have a lot of information, including how families and caregivers can support PBIS in a home setting. So we have our official banner that will be hanging up at school. And if you're interested in seeing any of those things that I talked about, I'd be happy to share them or print them off for you.
Did the
Go ahead.
staff also attend? Did the staff also attend the training,
Yes.
or is it just?
Two,
Oh.
so we have a PBIS team, which is
Oh.
myself, my school counselor, and my special education teacher.
Oh, nice.
And we have our Thanksgiving feast and veteran appreciation lunch that is planned for Thursday, November 9th at 12 o'clock. This event is mostly coordinated by our PTO. Thanks, Rachel. We're grateful for all of that. In other PTO news, they just had the fireman's sale where they raised nearly $1,500, selling baked goods and breakfast sandwiches, hot dogs, burgers, and some drinks. Each year, the event is a huge success, and that's because of all the community support and, of course, our super successful PTO. So thank you. Just a little update on after school programs. I know that the survey is kind of closed now. There is enough interest. And so Sarah's working on hiring staff for that and is coming out to Grafton next week during our staff meeting to talk with staff about it and plan more. So there will be more information about that in the newsletter. And then finally, next week, the second and third graders will be visiting Miller Farm in Vernon, Vermont, to see where our milk comes from. And that's it.
Any questions for Angela? Thanks, Angela.
Just one question, maybe. There was a head count report that was done, I think, by Sarah last year, which has all the high school students and all of the 7th and 8th graders. Could that be sent out? I would like a copy of it if possible. If we could.
Yes, I can send that to you. Sure. Is it okay if it has student names on it? Is that
Yes,
okay, Andy?
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, if we're worried about it, we can just do initials. I mean, we can figure it out, but I think the one I'm seeing it's got student names on it.
Yes, it does.
Marty's not running around handing it out.
No, I'm using it
Okay,
for.
Artie, as long as you're not running around handing it out.
Good data.
Yep, I'll get that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Jim, I guess finance.
Hey.
Well, could I just add one piece, just, and I apologize, Angie, I don't know if you went over this the last time. So the Miller Farm, field trip, that's being arranged through, what's the grant, Angie, I'm sorry, now I'm putting you on the spot. I thought I knew it off the top of my head. But it has to do with the organic milk, program, and so we're bringing students from all of our schools, and they're all going to Miller Farm for, this big kickoff, so it's, but we're really grateful, and I apologize, I can't remember the group's name off the top of my head, but they're helping to fund the field trip and everything, so.
They get any press?
Yeah, they've invited Governor Scott, we've been advertising it, but, Kate O'Connor, our communications person, has been all over it, so,
A neat program.
yeah, so.
The kids love it.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Okay, see lots of numbers, Jim.
Okay, so
Make us happy.
we're early in the year.
I know.
So, we're just tweaking this, but I'm gonna go down a little bit on the function page, which is the top. The one behind it is by object, same report, but it's by object. And the last page that I've got in there is a revenue page. So I'm looking at page 1 on the function report. So I just want to say a quarter of the way down, you're going to see something that says worker compensation insurance. Can you all find that? So I just want to explain, the budget is 0. And I said, what in the world? That can't be. So anyways, I went into the particular cell, didn't have a formula in there. And so it was dead. And I put a formula in and it won't happen again, but it was $411 worth of expense that we missed. Little below halfway, there's a title that says return of surplus from SU. That shouldn't be in there. And the reason I say that is you can't mix revenue and expenditures, and got off course a little bit. This should have gone in as prior year revenue. And so that's where it'll be, and the board can make some decision on that later on. So we've not done anything with tuitions as yet. We'll probably towards the end of the month, we'll start to get those tuitions and you know, bill out and, you know, get some from the other receiving districts. I'm on page 3. And a quarter of the way down, you'll see psychological services. And it's about 28,000. And again, we're looking at needing to move that money into the SU. The wrinkle that happened is in order for the those people to get retirement funds, it has to be put into one entity, and we can't split those people. And they're the only ones. I mean, teachers are on Vistas, which is the Vermont Teachers Retirement System. Everyone else falls under the VEMRs, which is you know, all of the support staff. And so so we anyways, we're going to probably end up moving that. That'll probably be zeroed out, and that will go off. We'll assess for it at the end of the year.
But we should have a line item for it, because we know it's gonna happen.
Yes, yes.
And it's only one person.
Yeah.
And you only pay for a portion of that one
That's right.
person. So just, I mean, it's not a.
Right. Yep. I do want to say page 4. Page 4, the audit, the third line down, audit of the school district. We're still playing catch up a little bit. You know, the audit, we get pre-billed by them. And again, all of the entities are getting the pre-billing of the audit. The audit for 23 last year will be done by November 30th. And when I say that, Ron Smith has promised me to have it in hand. For me, why it's important is we want to include that into the annual report as well. Just, it's a piece that always should be in there.
It appears we didn't budget anything for that, though.
Right, that's right. And I checked it, and that's correct. We did not. It's one that we missed, but hey, we'll get it. So we still are converting from e-finance to this Infinite Visions. And I just want to say we are not done. We probably have another 6 to 8 weeks to finish the first phase. A lot more laborious than we anticipated, or that I anticipated, but we're here where we are, and we're going to get this done and finished up. We had a number of wrinkles in payroll that we finally got fixed, and we're a little bit more comfortable with. There's a couple of other products that we're going to add on later on after we get this in hand, I hope. So, any questions that I can answer for you?
Question I have is on page 1, for instance, we have the line 2 and what's it, 2, 4, and 6. That's negative, is that because we don't have the monies from the school district in yet?
No.
So why is?
And on page 1, line 2,
Mhm.
and I'm looking at the budget at the time that we had was 379,711.
Uh-huh.
So this just says the teachers who Angela brought in, or some must have been a little higher price.
Mm,
And so we were over a little bit,
okay.
30,000, all in all, it's probably, you're gonna be high some years, down some.
Mhm.
As long as that bottom line works out,
Mhm.
not too much of a concern.
And the bottom line is the last page?
The bottom line is the last page, and again, we're,
We're still-
and we're still, if we had had the tuitions encumbered, it
Mhm.
probably would mean a lot more,
Mhm.
because those are bigger numbers. Those numbers are not, encumbered as yet. So
Okay.
once we get a purchase order on those, that'll certainly steer the ship in the right direction.
Okay. I think I understand.
I just want to mention,
Mm.
should you run into questions, in the evening sometime or later on, give me a call.
Okay.
You know my number.
Thank you, Jen, for all
Okay.
your work. Well appreciated. So under old business, update, the after-school program, staffing and other plans. You mentioned you did the survey and you have the interest, and you said Sarah was she putting out, some folks that are interested, or what's the status there again? For
Yeah,
staff?
she reached out to the staff and then is coming on Tuesday to talk with everyone.
Okay. Do you have a date when it might happen?
Yeah.
I'd say in a perfect world, if she's talking to staff on Tuesday, you might be looking at the following week. In a perfect world.
I would say probably the week after, because we have to get kids to sign up, and then she's got to get contracts out to staff. I think she was aiming for the week of. She did. She does have a date. I'm looking back at the newsletter because I think it was in the newsletter. Just give me a second.
First week in November.
I think the first week of November is what she was planning, November to June. That's what her most recent update said. So I think we're looking at maybe November.
Sounds reasonable.
Either October 30th or November 6th. And it wouldn't be November 6th because we don't have school. So yeah, I think it was November 7th. Because we were going to start on a Tuesday, not on a Monday, because there wasn't school Monday.
Okay. Any other questions on that? Has anyone heard about the vacancy with the Athens seat? Any other?
I haven't heard anything
Information.
since you and I, the communication I sent to
So
you.
no one knows if she's back in the States or not, or still interested.
Maybe we can have Krista reach out to her.
Okay. I've had no communication with anybody interested in the position. Community forum follow-up on the basketball hoop. There was a question, some of the students couldn't use the basketball hoop because of the cars. And can the hoop be moved so there's no cars around, or can there be something arranged so they could use the basketball so the balls aren't hitting the cars? I don't know if you and Gary
So
have.
I'm not sure of one single time that the kids haven't been able to use the basketball hoop. I know that one teacher in particular is there first, and she's the one who sort of starts the line. And there's plenty of room for the basketball hoop to be used. I don't know where really that's coming from. We would never tell the kids not to use that they can't use the basketball hoop. People park in the back lot or on the road. But we always leave space for the hoop.
That came from the community forum. There was a parent concern.
Yeah, and that same concern came during coffee with the principal. And I gave that same message that students are never swayed away from using the basketball hoop. It's always accessible. We have bought new basketballs. They're always blown up. We've got a basketball bin outside. And the first car that parks leaves plenty of room. So I'm not sure.
And I would probably recommend trying to figure out if there needs to be a solution at the parking part of it, as opposed to moving the
Right.
hoop.
Right.
Just because there's a huge, I mean, it's not just like, let's just pick it up and move it.
No.
Those are cemented in. So,
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, but there's also no other place for people to park.
I understand that.
Yeah,
So
can you just drop on the parking lot
Yeah.
where no parking right here, and that's for the hoop.
right,
Right.
and it's not drawn down on the pavement, but I mean, everyone knows, there's not that many of us. So.
Oh, we just want to follow up on it from, for the parent.
Mhm.
Other issue was update on the 5th and 6th para.
Yeah, so I know that Stacy had followed up on that concern from the community forum. So just so everyone understands, paraprofessionals right now at Grafton, they are all funded through special education, and they are assigned to students who have that as an accommodation on their IEP. There's not a para that is assigned to a classroom. Those paras are assigned to students for a certain number of minutes a day per subject. So there is not a para in the 5-6 classroom. In any given classroom, para support is provided it can be provided by a paraprofessional, or I know in this instance, it's being provided by our special education teacher. I don't really know how much more I could say in general terms without being specific. I don't know if you have anything to add, Andy.
No, I just say, I mean, we don't, across the SU tend to have what we would call a regular ed para or a classroom para. So paras are assigned based on students' IEPs and the services that are warranted for them. If there is an adult in the classroom and they're assigned to a small group of working with a few different students, or even a one-on-one, if that student is engaged and working, by all means, we'd expect that the adult would help other kids at that time, not just sit there and do anything. So sometimes it does feel like they're there helping all kids, because sometimes that's what's appropriate. So
I have a question. By having the special educator filling that role of, if she's acting as a para for the certain amount of time for that one student, is that taking away her time? Because she's the special educator for the building, right? So is that affecting her ability to make sure the other kids that she's supposed to work with as well.
So hypothetically, because
Right.
no,
I
without
can-
knowing
I can-
specifics. But I mean, so give me 1 second and I'll let you jump in because you know more of so hypothetically, when you write a service, that like a paraprofessional. If a special ed teacher comes in and provides that service, they're not providing a para service, they're providing a service.
Right.
And so a higher level can provide that service. And it would fit into whatever their day looks like. You know, we're not taking from Peter to pay Paul necessarily, which is, I think, the question you're asking. It's gotta fit in. If it couldn't, then we would have to figure something else out, but I don't know specifically up here, so.
So it just so happens that from year to year, the special education caseload varies depending on what kids leave in 6th grade, what kids come in kindergarten, or just enrollment in general. So it just happened this year that there is enough time in the special education teacher's schedule to be able to provide that service. Does that make sense? So all of the minutes that a special education teacher gives direct instruction to special education students is all covered. We have to cover that by law. We can't take away from somebody else to allow her to go into a classroom and be that support. Does that make sense, Rachel?
Yeah, that's what I was asking.
Yeah.
Okay. So now, do we have students that their needs aren't such that they need a para, but they could use some extra help? Could that be what the person was
There are
asking
times,
here?
so one of the things that we're gonna really take a hard look at, as we're walking into our budget this year is, we're finding a lot of our kindergartners, they're still not prepared for school.
Mhm.
Across our SU, so I'm talking very broadly, I'm not talking just about Grafton, so, but, so there are times where a teacher's assistant, a teacher's aide,
Mhm.
like a classroom para would be advantageous because the students still haven't learned all those skills and
Yeah.
whatnot, and so, there could be times where you're looking at that, but,
Mhm.
that is a cost that
Mhm.
hasn't been budgeted
Yeah.
in this year's budget.
Mhm.
But it's something that if Angela feels like, she looking at her data, like I'm making it up, that second, third grade classroom that we're gonna have combined next year they're gonna need extra support, so
Mhm.
she's gonna put in her budget and ask for a paraprofessional maybe,
Yeah.
and so on. So that's why we do it, as she talked about with the PBIS, with the
Mhm.
panorama data and all that,
Mm.
that data informs that decision making. So
Yeah,
it's not just
okay.
making that decision, so. But there are times you,
And the only other thing, Lynn, that I would say is, of course, there are times that students even, they have IEPs written and then, that gets implemented. And then there's, parents or families or teachers feel that the student could use more support. And if that's the case, then we just have an IEP meeting. A parent can just request that. And then that's when services can be added or, taken away or whatever, however we would best meet the needs of the student. So I do hear what you're saying, that could it be that? And I think the answer is yes. And that would happen through an IEP meeting.
Any other questions? Survey results from the end of 22-23 school year.
so,
I think we asked this.
yeah,
While back.
and so Shelley Wilson, who's our, we changed the title, she was our MTSS coordinator, she's the director of family and students, support systems. She's gonna be here on November 9th, along with Deb Cardane, our director of instruction, to go over a lot of the data pieces and the different surveys. So I would ask if we could, put that back on the agenda, and then she can speak to the different questions and how they're worded. And I think that was some of the concern, if my memory is, that some people felt like was worded in a way that might have misled people, or they felt it was intrusive or something of that nature, or, and so I think she can speak to that much more in depth for you and explain that, what those outcomes are, if that is okay.
Do we have a number of how many, parents did that survey for Grafton or?
So she'll unpack that whole,
Okay.
she will be out here to talk about Grafton's data. So, we scheduled, so what we did was we sat down and we mapped out when they, to be able to provide you all a date, so you can expect that they will come and talk about your data. So they will talk about your spring data, of your students, and, and also what they've collected so far in the fall. Now, please be, your sample size is small,
I know.
so that does create some challenges. But they're gonna do the best they can to unpack it so that we can provide that data.
Deb Cardine, and who's coming in?
Shelley Wilson,
Okay, yeah.
and I apologize, Kathy, I should have asked this at adjustments, and if the board could allow me to add an F under old business to update you just on the RFPs.
Sure.
Okay. And just so you are aware, so those RFPs did go out for the painting and for the parking lot to repave. We're, October 24th is the date, the close date for those. So, on that date, then we will open those and look at those, and then, at your next board meeting, we'll bring back we're hoping for 3 bids on each one, because it makes the life a lot easier. If not, we'll apply for waivers and whatnot, but, I think that'll help inform you all as far as like funds and what you're looking at doing. We all know this building needs paint, but we also want to do it right.
Yeah.
So that it lasts. And then, if the parking lot, just thinking, having the conversations about the high school and whatnot, you'd be looking at the earliest we could probably redo that would be this, late spring as the weather comes up. Be ideal to do it in the summer when there's nobody here, and then painting and doing exactly what you were talking about, but Gary could get out there we could paint it right now too, so even as it is, but it'd probably be good, Angie, now that I'm thinking of it, there are some holes in there. You and I should talk just to get those patched right now before winter really sets in. The big ones.
Okay,
So, but.
I'll talk to Gary. We'll get it done. It's fine.
But yeah, so, October 24th is we're expecting those bids in, so.
So does the clerk of the board open those? Who opens the bid?
No, so Steve Horton and I will open them.
Okay.
They're not sealed bids. It's not that bid process where, everyone's there. They
We do in the select board.
Yeah, no, they email them in and we kind of hold on to them and then we kind of look at them, and sadly, we've only been, a lot of our things, we're only getting 1 bids on most things, so.
Yeah.
But we also have some other, painting jobs, so it might be something we can bundle together for someone that makes it much more attractive, but I don't want to go back out to rebid either, so.
I hear you.
But
Okay. All right, thank you very much for that. So we have new business, and this is budget planning, so,
Okay,
Jim?
thanks. All right, under budget planning, and did I give you one of these?
you did.
All right, thank you. All right, so, off and running, for, so, I just put together something that shows you, the budget parameters. We've changed some stuff like, the health insurance we put in 10%, and some of the other parameters that needed to be adjusted. The one thing that this packet doesn't have that you're gonna need is how the SU changes will affect your assessment costs. You know, and that, again, and Angela, I did put that $1,000 for books, library books in here, just for you. And Angela hasn't had a chance to go through this, but she will in the next week. No, whenever. Because I think we're ahead enough where, you know, you can go through this and assimilate a little bit of where you're at. And I'll take you through this just a little bit. Just think of this. It gives you the opportunity to drill down. If you want data, you can drill down in it. So on page 1, you'll see it's by object. And again, I like that because I like to see who's up and who's down. Doesn't always tell the full story.
The 545 for next year, does that have the steps in it or not?
545.
For salaries, teacher salaries, 545.
Step,
With that,
yes.
It has a step in it.
Yes.
So that's important.
So, yes, all of the adjustments have been made. It's baked in now. So, I mean, unless you were gonna cut staff, this won't change a lot.
Right.
But as I say, this is your work in progress. So the page two goes through by function. So if you said, well, you know, hey, what the heck, we're down on guidance. You know, why is that? Well, on page what? 120, so it's page 6. Page 6 gives you really the breakdown of what that monies are that changed in guidance. So you can turn there. And if you say, well, that's not bad, but we want to see further. If you go through pages 19 through 22, it gives you account by account. So you can see every stroke of the pen. You know, the thing, why this is so solidified is because last year we had a reset for like insurances, the property and liability insurances. Well, we put 5% in this year. I think it'll cover you, you know, however. Love to see it go down, but some reason it never goes down. The printers, Ricky, the technologists, the admin technologists had a super buy with a company that I initially was very critical of. Gee, I should have shut my mouth on that interview. But anyways, this thing has worked out so well. The printers work and support what we're doing. That's not going to change. We've estimated the cost per copy and the lease cost, and it's right there. It's not going to change. We had it last year. Telephones, internet, not going to change. You know, it's cooked right in there. What will change is if Angela says, hey, I've got some real heavy duty supply needs. I've got a new book curriculum purchase that I'm going to make that Deb Gardain has authorized. Those things are not in here and may change.
Like we were just talking about, what Angela was talking about PBIS. That's been a lot of the work they've done up to this point has been funded through ESSER. And there's continual annual work that needs to be done, so that might be an ask that gets added in here. We had a conversation the other day about, our fire panels and making sure they're all upgraded and, you know, do we need to go to a new security company and stuff like that, so, it had to do with the phone systems. You mentioned phones, is why I was thinking of it. Most of our phones are still like the old analog phone for the fire systems. And Ricky was looking into moving it to digital, but we're trying to figure out what the impact will be. You know, if it's digital and you lose power, what,
That's right.
you know, how long do you have before then the fire alarm goes off? And, you know, so there's some things we're looking at, but those might be asks that end up in here that we just.
So page 23 just shows you how the SU surplus balance was divided up and calculated. Page 24 gives you kind of your reserve funds and how that breaks out. And Heidi, in his wisdom, mentioned to me, if you look under fund balance for 22, he had estimated 106,000 for the SU balance. Now, so we're a little bit short there, but you will be pulling in for 23 some reserve funding, some balance. So you should more than make up for the shortfall. Page 25 gives you, you know, the staff and what the costs are. You know, you're at $1 million for staff. It doesn't leave you a lot for everything else. But I'll tell you, when we get all done, end of December, when we say, hey, where are we? We'll have to compare this just to see how much has really changed.
Is one of the people on the staff going to be the person that goes back to Stacy? You know, as we discussed yesterday, because of Beamer, is one of these people?
Yes.
No, not on this page.
Not on this page, that was my question.
Well, Andy, I just want to mention, hold on here. Because I thought, and it may not be, maybe I'm wrong.
I don't see him on there, that's fine.
Okay, no, but I think we moved them. We moved all of those.
Yeah, they got moved already, so they're not
Already?
on.
They're not on this
They're not,
sheet.
that's, yeah. So.
Okay. Yep, so, anyways, I think this will roll out nicely in that we all know what an object and function code is. Had a heck of a time last year, I mean, right? Angela?
It is so much more clearer now.
Hey,
So clear.
so, I'll get a copy to you of this, it's a start, you know, something, you gotta start somewhere. And, we'll see. Any questions I can answer for you? Come on, man, you must be cooking a few.
Lots of numbers here.
Yep.
Really digest it all. So how do we set the dates up to go over this again? Is it just through our board meetings or are there any extra meetings? How does that work?
We'll say this, just my recommendation
Mhm.
is that we should get SU costs, because I think that will help you. It'll help you steer where you want to end up, and Hardy will have those numbers, and we'll crank them in, and then we can set up, you know, time to really go through this. Angela will have time to go through and check what she needs, and
Our goal is the beginning of December to have the SU budget pretty buttoned up, if not approved. So, I mean, typically what has happened in the past is you know, we use the regular board meeting and then we use the alternative board meeting date, you know, that other Thursday. And then as we get closer to a deadline, we might, you know, if we can't get to some resolution, you know, then we might start having special meetings to try and squeeze it through, kind of thing. You know, we're looking off the top of my head, you know, you're talking, when do we come up with it? The end of January-ish is when you need to finalize your budget. Yeah.
Yeah, because our town clerk will want that
Yeah.
information.
So, you know, if we're able to finalize the budget for the SU by, you know, end November, December, early, you know, that first week of December, you know, as Jim said, I mean, most of this is already kind of there. We should be able to move through it pretty fast and, you know, theoretically, you know, it'd be great to be done by the end of December.
Yeah.
Which would be very early, I think, because I think we've been up the last few
Well, last
years.
year wasn't bad.
No, you guys were, I'm thinking of the whole, you know, but most of our boards are on board to try and be done by the end of December. So that would be nice.
It would. You know, and I think,
There's 3 points here. There's there's this package,
Mhm.
then there's what the education department says is your head count.
Right.
And what they say is the yield.
Yeah.
Which actually comes from the legislature and not for a while, but in December 1st, the commissioner will send out something on. the
Right, you'll
yield.
get a preliminary.
And that will give us the idea of what we need to do as far as surplus.
everybody's holding their breath on the yield.
Yeah.
What about, any teachers, is there a deadline if any of these teachers are contemplating retirement?
That is passed for the retirement incentive. So they needed to notify us by October 1st. And we did not get any of your staff, put that in. I mean, they have, we have to get them contracts by early April.
Mhm.
And then trying to think of when the dates are that they need to notify us.
I think they have 20 days after contract.
And then they can ask for an extension. If they are interviewing in another district and are a viable candidate in another district, they can get an extension into June. But as far as, so, you know, the retirement, to be eligible for that retirement incentive, the way it's currently written and interpreted in the CBA is they would have had to have worked in the Athens, Grafton, or the UE. Cause you figure you've been through a lot of different iterations of your district, but you'd be looking at someone who had to work in here for 20 years in this district. Not someone who maybe worked in Rockingham and then moved here. You know, after 10 years and they've done 10 years here, they wouldn't be eligible for that early retirement, but they still may retire. They just wouldn't get the incentive. So, so you're looking at about, you know what, so April, you know, we should know by the end of April if someone's gonna see if we have openings, if that's. And we have to notify folks, you know, if there's a reduction in force or anything, we've got a date to do that, if it's February, yeah.
Okay, any other questions on budget or? Any other items?
Today,
Hey, director's comments.
I'm all set today.
I'm all set. I'm all set.
All right,
So date and time of our next meeting. What are we looking at, Nicole? It would be.
second November,
Yeah.
would be 9, right?
November 9th.
9th.
That's it.
And that's the time that Deb and Shelley will be here.
Okay, great. So I need a motion to adjourn,
I move we adjourn the meeting.
okay?
This meeting was recorded by Falls Area Community Television, located at 1 Hospital Court, Bellows Falls, Vermont. If you would like a copy of the meeting, our phone number is 802-463-1613, or email us at fact810@gmail.com. Falls Area Community TV, keeping government honest.